Petrozzi, thank you. And before I begin, I'm going to ask for a couple of new protocols here. Once again, we're trying to upgrade the room here. So what we are now doing is the camera is on, or the cameras are on. We are live streaming. We are going live to the public. I asked to go live now. I don't think we need to wait until the formal meeting. I just got the thumbs up from Will Slusher saying we are live and in living color. Welcome to the 1,000 viewers. Thank you, 1,000 viewers who are now watching. So we are live, and I don't know why that you're laughing at, but there's more than 1,000. At any rate, the spirit of transparency of the issues you deal with and decide on, the money you allow to be expended or not, and the community involvement is important, and especially on a night such as this, when we are hopefully going to pass a resolution for a name change. I thought it would be an opportune time to start the live streaming. In addition to this, you can watch it again, right? If you miss it, it will be led for eternity, and it's a good thing for our public. So I want to let everybody know that I'm also going to ask, as a member of ground rules, that anyone who is speaking on the staff to please use a microphone under threat of discipline from me tomorrow. Speak clearly and slowly into them. I'm kidding about the discipline. They all look to Mr. Weiss like, can you represent me? Please speak slowly and clearly into the microphone so that the board can hear you, picks you up, and our TV studio can pick you up too. We've got our 5-day production gentleman. This guy, just tell him who you are. I want you to tell the board the story. Quickly, 30 seconds.
Yes, I'll make it Gambino from 5-day productions. I started actually at Niagara Falls High School for the production studio for Rick Lorenzo, and since then I went to NFCSD for all your recording production, and I started doing what I'm doing thanks to, all the programs that and band program and media from Niagara Falls. I couldn't be doing this without that. So.
I thought that was a great story. And he was a good young man in school too.
Appreciate it.
Band.
A band and media.
Drummer, right?
Were you a drummer?
Yeah, drummer. Yeah. Pep band, marching band, all the bands.
All right. Let's go to work. I'd like to do an agenda review, please, because we do have some changes. So I'm going to start with Ms. Glasser's assistance, and then Ms. Massaro is going to take the floor. We'll start right promptly at 7 p.m. with our usual protocols. Mr. Petrozzi then talks about the oral communication, of which I know we've got citizens signing in now, and I believe Mr. Petrozzi insists that if we're speaking on items, resolutions, or something else on the board agenda, he permits you to do that at that time. If you have an issue or question beyond the resolutions, that comes at the end of the meeting. Is that how you'd like that, Mr. Petrozzi?
Yes, unless there's only one. So.
Okay, we'll leave that to your decision.
If you don't mind.
Oh, we'll leave that to your call.
Thank you.
We have all of our usual transfers and bids, and for those that are listening, please know we went through this 2 weeks ago, and I've been communicating with the board throughout that time. We have one bid. It is for Aviana. That is the testing agency paid for by Niagara County. Aviana has been providing testing to us on Mondays and Tuesdays. They've been providing PCR and BINX testing, and we get reimbursed for that testing from the county. Treasurer's report, budget status report. Ms. Massaro will come forth in a bit on the personnel report, special ed reports. 7 short-term contracts. Nothing has changed on those short-term contracts. Nothing has changed. Please note one is a catch-up from last year that we missed and have not paid. So we're putting that forward. It was from post-prom party that the kids had. And then if you go to your resolutions, we have an acceptance of funds for, that's our special ed grant, 21st Century Grant, Teacher Center Grant, and then 604 is the renaming of the Niagara Street School. A couple of things on this one, and I'll let you take it from here, Mr. Petrozzi, if you'd like. We're going to strike the word "the" in the resolution, and you'll ask for an amendment to that, Mr. Petrozzi?
Yes, we will. Yes, we should amend it since it's already been printed. We'll take an amendment, vote on the amendment, then vote on the resolution.
It will just be Bleneva Bond Primary School. The "the" will be removed. And also, she wasn't a doctor. She received her doctorate, honorary, well-deserved, from Niagara University.
Now, I do have a question to my colleagues on that I was going to bring up when we brought it up. The naming is to be exact. Are we leaving any leeway to the committee at the school, or if there's any difference of what we approve tonight and comes back to us? What is your pleasure?
Now, with the other primary schools,
Louder, please.
with the other primary schools, did we change their names to primary, or is it just elementary?
Well, they're elementary, but they were all elementary at the time.
I think more precisely, Mr. Bass, we did not. We had to go into the state system with the resolution, and we left it Calvus Magnet School and Harry F. Abbott Elementary School. So we have not changed their name, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah. So, I just wasn't sure if, if we should just have it Bond Elementary or primary.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bass.
My question was whether or not it should be Bond Elementary versus primary, but I'm only asking just on,
My reasoning behind primary, and that's your call, is because you know at this current time it is a pre-K 3 to 2 school. But to your point, Calvus remains in the New York State education system as Henry J. Calvus Elementary School.
The reason I'm asking that question, if we send it and this is the name, no deviation at all is possible. If that's what you prefer, or if we want to allow a deviation without coming back to us. Now, there's plenty of time. The committee will be formed. We have till March.
We have till March 31st on the exact wording. I'd like a little leeway on that, though, because when we did the change over the grade configuration, they went back and forth. Rick, remember this? They went back and forth with 82 different questions on it. So I'd like to do it, Mr. Petrozzi, members of the board, around March 1st at the latest.
Okay, but my question still, is it as voted on, any deviations come back? What's your pleasure? Well, fine, which way?
I'm sorry, I would just go with whatever the committee decides, so if they, play with, however they play with it, because, they're in the community.
So yeah, if you're asking us all for our opinion, my opinion would be, I'm okay with voting and allowing for opportunity for adjustments in the future until the deadline.
I think we should go back to the committee just for complete research and to make sure that it meets all the requirements that we have to make with the state.
That's not the question I'm asking is, if they came up with, I'll just give an example, Believe a Bond School. Does that come back to us to be approved again, or are we allowing the committee to make that deviation from elementary or whatever name we approve tonight? I just want to know what leeway to give the committee or no leeway. Not research or anything like that. It's researched. They can research more if you like, but I'm not expecting them to come back. Everybody follow my questions. Either leeway or no leeway.
I vote give leeway.
Leeway, just, okay, leeway, no leeway, leeway, no leeway, leeway. Okay, fine, that's it. We'll get the suggested name, and then we'll allow leeway. Thank you.
And just so you know, I need that by March 1st.
Well, I would assume Mr. Doyle will get the committee on on the move right after we approve it.
Can't wait.
You know, so
Awesome.
the committee's already really formed with the exception of the additions, Mr. Rocco Marino may want to add. By the way, Rocco, you're on the new committee. You got another night job.
Chairman,
No problem, chair at that.
unpaid.
Notice that came up real fast. But anyway, we'll get that going, and we would expect if you could kindly get a meeting called as soon as possible. I know we have holidays.
We'll get started tomorrow.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Knowing Rocco, and seriously, he is extremely efficient. And of course, Rocco, you won't be alone. You'll have our support, the staff support, and I know that the board will ask for community support too. And we'll give you some help on that for sure. Moving ahead, 605 is the actual approval of the contract with Aviana. Aviana is that testing agency. They have started, they've done a good job. Dr. Civaroli worked with them. 606 is a contract to help our special education teachers, particularly with respect to the autism children that we service. 607 is an additional $8,902 that Head Start will provide us as a cost of living increase based on the time we were awarded the grant and now. 608, I'm going to ask you to remove from tonight's vote, and the reason for that removal, not because there's a problem, but because the current proprietor owner of Head Start has been extended until January 1st. And the feeling is that there'll be a much smoother transition for kids, families, et cetera, on January 1st after the holidays. And then we'll also give the current owner some chances to finish some maintenance repair work that needs to be done. And that maintenance repair includes fume hoods, dishwashers, boilers, and playgrounds. So that's the reason for the delay. There is no retreat from Head Start. We continue with it. It's just another month, and I know our staff is certainly in support of that. That is 608 is on there. Yep. So we're going to pull that, Judy and team. 609 through 6.28 are payments to our contractors. These payments conclude the pay for the maintenance barn that was rebuilt at a cost of approximately $1.1 million, and it also concludes payments on what we call phase 2 of our capital projects. That's the $55 million that put the air conditioning in the schools, that did a lot of other things we've been talking about. That will put forth all of the payments, and what it will allow us to do is to ask Becky and Richard to start recouping our money from the state, and it will come in our state aid payment when state aid flows in a couple of months. 628. There's a couple of change orders here. Ray, if you scroll. 629 is a change order. That is a refund of $30,000 for the Calphus roof that we had put in, but we didn't need to spend it. So we got a credit back for the Calphus roof, and we took that money and did some other good things for the schools, like bottle filler drinking fountains, if you recall that conversation. 609 and 630 and 631 and 632 were some final changes to the maintenance barn for Wi-Fi and antennas and plumbing work that needed to be done, and that rounds out all the work on the rebuild of that maintenance barn. There are no policies to review, oral comments. Of course, Mr. Petrozzi will make that decision. I'll have some very scintillating, enthralling comments to make at that point, or they'll just be average, I'm not sure which. Thanks, Russ, for laughing. The next meeting will be on Thursday, December 2nd. It's a non-voting meeting, and we have 3 topics on that meeting. The mayor of the city of Niagara Falls is asked to come before you to talk about his plan and proposal for an event center, and he'll talk to you first. Ms. Glasser, keeping in step with the 2022 school year, is going to bring her team from NTS to move our district elections in May to the same type of electronic roll books that they did, just in the last election. But we don't want to do that until you see how it's going to operate, know what costs you'll incur, know how it works, and answer your questions. But I'm recommending that it go forward. But I don't want to put a resolution on there for the increase in pay we're going to make until you see it. And I think the last issue is probably the most important. I want Mr. Corella to share what the school improvement plan is for the district. Every district is supposed to, that's called the DCIP, District Comprehensive Improvement Plan. Then we'll review the meeting and hopefully be home by midnight. No, we'll be home at 8:35. Then the next meeting is on December 16th, and we have a number of topics to fill in, and then we'll close the calendar. If there aren't any questions on that, I'm going to ask to come to the mic the esteemed, hardworking human resources administrator who has mastered the pronunciation of the word asterisk to lead you through the updated personnel report and answer any questions you may have on the personnel report that you're going to be asked to vote on this evening. So with that wonderful introduction, Ms. Massaro, it's all yours.
I will proceed linearly, Mr. Laurie.
Okay, all right. The joke is I'm on a call today and I can't pronounce the word linear. I couldn't say linear with these people from Head Start. I kept calling it linearly, and I couldn't get the word right. So of course, being the fine attorney that she is, she didn't miss an opportunity to call me out. Don't screw up here, Maria.
I won't, but I'm going to be noting the asterisks for all of you this evening. So we all have our words. Anyway, you have before you this report. I do want to note that there is a typographical error that I have to apologize to all of you more profusely. On page 2 of 8, there is an involuntary transfer of a teacher, and I had her who transferred to the same place. She's actually going from Dasdale Prep School to Niagara Falls High School with the effective date of tomorrow. So my apologies to you for that mistake.
I don't have to.
No, because I'm saying it to you right now, so you're actually voting on the transfer from Dasdale Prep.
Appreciate it.
And then the only other differences that you see there do have the star next to them, and also some additions in the per diem and scheduling. Does anybody have any questions about the certificate? Next up is the classified report. We do have some with asterisks there. Again, this is for all the board, but I do keep on Mr. Valero because he always asks. The retirement is 16 years. 16 years. And then we have some additional voluntary transfers of safety officers, and then we can see some additional hours and change of status from probationary to permanent. We also have an addendum to the personnel report this evening. And Mr. Lyon,
I do. I would like to talk about the addendum, if you wouldn't mind, board members.
That's addendum.
That is addendum to the
It's an addendum to the personnel.
personnel report. It's page. I have one of them.
Classified report.
Nope, it has its own separate page.
Here. So we're going to vote on it separately.
You go to this up.
But that's just an addendum on its own.
Personnel report. Everybody have it? No? Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So on page 2 of 7,
Yes.
3. So they just, have we even heard from them since?
Yes, I spoke with her several times. That was, it's a very unique situation. This is the person who came to us from one of the human services agencies. We worked with her through 3 separate positions. This was the last one, and she's just unable to work it. So we spoke with her about it. We understand that this is coming, and if she wants to come back as a substitute, we'll move it.
I would like to speak to the addendum, Mr. Petrossi and board members. The addendum is to hire a school safety director of security. It's been no secret that we've had a need for this position. And I want to thank the members of the board that supported it and pushed for that. I want to tell you that Ms. Massaro handled this from creating the posting to conducting interviews, of which the candidate pool was outstanding, to making a committee, which included Mr. Smeal and Mr. Zimmerman, Derek Zimmerman, a principal at Gaskill, making a recommendation to me on this name. The person that I'm recommending to you, I think, as the new director of security in the district, is of the most incredible, highest caliber of security, safety, law enforcement, access, knowledge of the community, knowledge of the schools, knowledge of the city, and quite frankly, I'm quite appreciative with the various issues, not only helping us resolve issues, but helping us with long overdue training that our safety personnel needs to have. I admit that I have been negligent in that area, and we do a good job training our teachers and our non-instructional staff. We need to do a better job, especially in the area of safety and security. So this individual will not only train safety staff, but will help with training the teachers. And I think he will only contribute to making our school district a better place. To me, this is like getting a first-round draft pick in a draft that, how we got him is quite incredible. So I recommend him to you without any reservation or concern. He's going to make our district much better. Thank you.
Okay. Just like anything else? Any questions, comments?
I'm not. I just want to say a couple of things before you get started, and then I'll keep quiet for 30 seconds and then interrupt like I like to do. We have not adjourned an executive session that we were in previous to the meeting. We put a pause on it, I think would be the term. So after this meeting concludes, there will be a continuation of an executive session. The reason for that executive session was for the potential promotion of a person or persons. It's a person in this case. That's the reason for the executive session. There will be no action taken, I don't believe, after tonight's executive session. I do want to also remind the speakers that we are on camera. We are live and in person. So decorum is always in order. Our president does an excellent job of communicating those rules, and I wanted to tell you, and I'm not sure if they're here because I can't see everyone, but we were called by another school district to say, can we come and observe how your meetings are run? Because while there are problems throughout the country in Western New York with school board meetings, yours seems to be run with some efficiency, integrity, and dignity, and you've taken on some tough issues, including transportation, some school violence, naming is a difficult issue, and we want to learn from what you do in the board meetings. So I took that as a compliment to the board members. So if the superintendent and director isn't here, I know they're watching it. So I appreciate the honor of the phone call. Other than that, Mr. Petrossi and members of the board, I have nothing else.
Mr. Superintendent, just one
I would recommend at the conclusion of the meeting that we retake the vote on executive session.
Correct. Yeah, to resume.
To resume
Right.
it with a first and a second.
We'll take the vote, so resume, correct.
Thanks, sir.
All right, audience, anybody else that wants to sign up to speak, want to give it a second before Miss Judy takes the sheet and brings it up? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's stand for the pledge and the prayer, and if anyone else wants to sign up, you can do so. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag.
of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we will have a prayer by Mrs. Dodd.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, creator and source of all things good, you have showered us with greatness to do your will. Thank you for your gifts and blessings. May these gifts multiply that everyone in our community can benefit from them. Bless everyone here today as we say thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Mr. Bass.
Present.
Mr. Wilson.
Present.
Mr. Consani.
Here.
Mrs. Dunn.
Here.
Mr. Padella.
Here.
Mr. Corretto.
Here.
Mr. Gallardo.
Here.
Mr. Petrosi.
Here.
8 present.
All right, thank you. Alrighty. Oral communications, when I call your name, please come on up, state your name and address, who you may represent, limit of 3 minutes, and please appreciate it. Stay within the 3 minutes. I will give you a nod or definitely give you a nod or a tap or something to let you know when you got like 15 seconds left. And we have quite a number this evening, so I'm going to get started. I have some non-agenda speakers, and it looks like there's a handful of them. I'm going to ask that we put that order that is on the agenda. It will be last, but just so you speakers, please do not be disappointed. The meeting will not take a long time. That way I give you your due time to speak. Okay, so non-agenda items, I will put at the end. You'll have plenty of time. We will start now. And if I pronounce your name incorrectly, please forgive me and please correct me. Okay, so you're going to keep time for us? Oh, perfect. All right, here we go. First speaker, Mr. Ken Hamilton. Want me to go someone first and then come back to you? No, you're calm. You're calm. Back.
Testing. All right, I'm gonna go through this really quickly. There's an upgrade in Niagara Falls that grows on the Hyde Park Golf Course side of the road. It's where Cleveland Avenue and South Avenue intersects Robbins Drive. And we're going to stand on very special ones. Whom our operators will likely be common in our time, one of the city's most celebrated citizens. You see, other than the former Niagara Falls City Councilman Ralph versus naming of the water plant after 25th Mayor Michael Laughlin, and maybe after 15th Mayor William Laughlin has a street named after him in the bow. Niagara Falls does not honor even its mayors. In fact, because we've had 37 mayors. Mayor's coming down a dozen, which means that each mayor's worth about 38 cents. But not this one. There's a show called Park, and it's named after the 5th mayor. Once the city had a trade school that was named after James Trout. He was called the father of Niagara Falls schools, and served the library and applied for the state education department for that legal charter. Can I take this off?
Please.
We also have Bernard Gaskell Junior High School, another preparatory school in Hyde Park. It was built by Irene Elia's father, but she has no street named after her either. Colonel Gaskell, though not having the title of mayor, he was the first president of the incorporated village of the city of Niagara Falls, of the town of Niagara Falls, rather. and he had an abhorrence for politics as a leading issue. He had never greatly appealed to him, politics, but where the colonel and this woman that we're about to honor tonight had much in common is that he was intensely interested, however, in the welfare of the community, and his administration of the office of the presidency was marked with law and order, and that was Louis Bond. We, of course, are speaking about our honoree and my friend and mentor, Mrs. Bond. For you see, unlike the mayor's, the city street name for her, we have a street name for her. Most of the mayors don't. She will very, very soon have a school named after her. Shortly after the Niagara Street School was built, I tried to get the Board of Education, and I talked to you guys weren't on the board at that time, some of them were, in naming it after Harriet Tubman. I got pushed back because people wanted Cranstar Phone, but I was looking at the changing demographics of the school district, and I thought that a Harriet Tubman would inspire the kids that would be in that school more so than a Cranstar Phone. I didn't push back. But I am glad that folks like the Men Standing Strong group did come up afterwards and begin to push for a name like Liliva Bond. She was my mentor, she was my friend, and she died. I got her personal effects, which I am gladly going to turn over to the Board of Education for display in the new school that's going to be named for her. There was that tree that was put there. It was put there by people, Bradbury, who used to be the city administrator, Mrs. Mitchell, or Carrie Mitchell, who's here tonight, and the Curtises. And we all got together and put that tree there honoring her. We got a street named after her as well. And when you start to look at the many accolades that she's getting, none of those things that we did for Mrs. Bond, and I'm going to cut this short, none of the things that we did for Mrs. Bond was done by Kenny Hamilton, for Kenny Hamilton, Bill Bradbury, Mrs. Mitchell, the Curtises, or anybody, not even for Men Standing Strong. Mrs. Bond earned every accolade that she could get and more. And Mrs. Bond, she would come up and she wasn't afraid to talk to you white folks, tell you what you're doing wrong, tell you what you're doing right. And if you wonder why I come up here from time to time to chew you out, it's because she was my mentor. And she taught me how to do things like that. And so I am very, very pleased. I'm very proud of this Board of Education. I'm very proud of the Men Standing Strong group. I'm so proud of the people who have come here to support this particular issue, because we are certainly doing the right thing for the right person at the right time. And she and everybody here deserves a round of applause for her and herself.
Thank you, Ken. Carrie Mitchell. Carrie Mitchell. Carrie. She's right there. She wants to speak. I'm glad you cut that back, Kenny. That was at least 10 minutes for you. Thank you, Mr. Bass.
Good evening to everyone. Please understand that I did not plan to speak, but for a person who is as well known, well respected, and who has done so much for the community, I stand here to say thanks to anyone who is for. I don't see how you could be against Lonnie Yvonne. She was one of great character and one of great service. This is what I have to say in terms of a tribute to one who is most deserving. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Mr. Don King.
very much. Before I talk about the meeting, I just want to thank the board for allowing myself and the members of the committee the opportunity to be part of this process. It's one of the most important things we've done in this community, and I think it shows leadership on behalf of each of the board members that have taken this position that you're doing tonight. The people on the committee, I think, I just like to mention their names because and more often is expected of them. Our job is not finished yet. But an Astor student at high school, Jimmy Consemi, a board member, Reverend Fred Chambers, Claire John, school board, Reverend Jones, myself, Christopher Merja, Russ Merja, who's, Russ Petrosi, who chairs our committee. He's also president of the school board. Aiden Robbins, a student. Joe Spargati from the Community Missions. Ezra Scott, former school councilman, and Rodney Shearer. And the person who's kept us together during this whole time is our district clerk, Judy Grass, who's been doing a good job for us. Now, to speak about Mrs. Bond. Mrs. Bond was a giant in all sense of the word. Of course, she was a tall person to me. Everybody's tall compared to me, but she was a giant. There was nobody close to her. Educationally, a giant in the way she spoke, how she spoke, and who she spoke to. She was not a middle-of-the-roader. She took a position. She was not afraid to take a position. I was very, very fortunate to be her friend and spend many hours with her on the school board. Althea Pride Bond was born on September 11th, 1918 to David and Arabella Pride. She and her husband, Harwood, moved to Niagara Falls in 1943. Winnebago graduated from Atlanta's Spelman College in 1939 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Music and History. Winnebago was a founder and charter member of the New York State Community Action Program. Board of Directors, she served in the Niagara Coalition, was active with the Council of Christians and Jews, served on the United Way of the Niagara Central Budget Committee, served on the Niagara Community Center Scholarship Committee, and the Congress of Racial Equality. She was a member of the Niagara Falls Council of Churches and People for Progress. She was also appointed by Governor Nelson Rockefeller to the State Health Council and the Health Planning Commission. She served on the Niagara Falls Bicentennial Committee, on Minority Task Force at the Niagara Chapter of the American Red Cross. Mrs. Bond was awarded a Doctor of Humanities degree from Niagara University in 1988, and she was twice the recipient of the Levy Brothers Award for Community Service. Winnebago was the first African-American woman to serve on the Niagara Falls Board of Education from 1979 to 1984. As a businesswoman, she owned and operated her own beauty salon and worked as a social worker in Niagara County for 17 years. During the 1971 uprising at Attica Prison, Winnebago was summoned along with others on behalf of the prisoners to witness their negotiations with the authorities on their fundamental rights to human dignity. Along with her husband, Howard Bond, a chemist, she was an active and dedicated and faithful member of the New Hope Baptist Church for 49 years, where she served in many capacities. I see Reverend Kelly is here today, and I'm sure if I don't be speaking that he would tell you that Mrs. Bond sometimes would be very, very challenging to him in church. But she was a member of the New Hope Baptist Church for 49 years, where she served in many capacities, including organist, choir director of the chapel choir, and director of youth activities. She served as a mentor and role model for countless young women in the Niagara Falls community. She displayed her commitment to young people through her involvement with the Girl Scouts, her work with children through the community center activities with the Board of Education, and as a church leader. Mrs. Bond passed away May 9th, 2004. I can just say that I believe that by taking a position that hopefully you will take tonight and vote for this. I think it will be such an asset to the community. I think people will look to everybody on this board for the leadership that they've taken. And I thank all the people here tonight. It's just an example of what Yvonne meant to so many people. I think we would have had it maybe in the daytime and more people would have been here. But many, many, many people have spoken to me about her over the past 10, 15 years. So I think this was such an appropriate thing for us to do, and I heartily hope that you're going to approve the decision this evening. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. State your address for the record, 672 Chilton. Thank you. And Kerry Mitchell was 341 37th Street. And Mr. Hamilton, P.O. Box 762. Those are impressive. I did miss. I'm going to call the next speaker, and I'll call the speaker after that so we can move along. And please try to adhere to the 3 minutes. I know there's so much to say, so I'm being a little bit lax at that, so please forgive me. Mr. Pastor Harvey Kelly, and after Pastor Kelly will be Dorothy Kelly. Please state your name and address, Pastor.
Harvey Kelly, K-E-L-L-E-Y, 937 Lafayette Avenue, here in Niagara Falls. I had the privilege of serving as Mr. Bond's pastor from 1982 until the time of her passing. She, as Mr. Don King has already said, was a long-time member of the New Hope Baptist Church. She served as choir director. She was proficient on organ and piano, an expert musician. She was a graduate of Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, where she actually majored in music and history. Mrs. Bond not only was my church member, I was not only her pastor, but we were tremendous friends. I stated at the time of her funeral that having heard so much about her from fellow parishioners and the general community, when I did get a chance to meet her, I was a little bit afraid of her. But she invited my wife and I to her home. We ate, we conversed. In fact, I visited her home many times, both my wife and I many times. And she was the kindest, in reality, the kindest and most gentle of people, the most charitable of people. She was a very special lady. She grew up in Daytona Beach, Florida. She had the privilege of knowing for a number of years the great Mary McLeod Bethune, who was the founder of Bethune-Cookman College and also an advisor to President Roosevelt and Mrs. Roosevelt. She walked with great men and women from around the world, but she never lost the common touch. And I want to commend our Board of Education for honoring her family, honoring this community by naming this school in her memory and in her honor. Thank you so much.
I thought you were going to ask for her 3 minutes, Pastor, but glad you did. So I take it, Dorothy, those remarks were combined. Dorothy Kelly, we're good? I appreciate that. Thank you for those remarks. Okay, moving on. We have Yvonne Taylor will speak next. And I believe the next one is Kozel Farrell. If I pronounce it wrong, please forgive me. So Yvonne Taylor, please. And again, if I pronounce your name wrong, straighten me out.
I'm a little surprised. It caught me off guard. I'm surprised because I didn't know I was going to be speaking tonight.
You signed the sheet that it wasn't
No, I didn't sign the sheet.
Well, I wish it was my mortgage you signed.
No, only thing I can to say about Mrs. Bond, I've been knowing her, since I came to New Hope Baptist Church. And, she was a wonderful person and a remarkable person. But she, like everybody knows, she was well outspoken, especially when it comes to politicians coming to our church. She never liked that politicians would come to our church on Sunday and interrupt our services. And she made that well known each time they came. So I am very happy and that you want to do this in her honor, and she's more than deserving of this honor. Thank you.
Thank you. That was 917 for the record. I appreciate that. Okay. Kozel Farrell's next, with Brenda Farrell after.
Good evening. My name is Kozel Farrell. I live at 2480 Pierce Avenue in Niagara Falls. And I just want to thank the board for making the selection of Mr. Bond. I didn't really get to know Anita, but I do recall her height and she carried a big stick. And I remember her around New Hope. I've been associated with New Hope for about 50 years. And I do remember Brother Howard and Sister Yvonne. But in particular, I don't recall in particular, but I will echo what my pastor said, the Reverend Harvey Kelly. I'm Reverend Kozel Farrell, by the way, and I serve under Reverend Harvey Kelly at the New Hope Baptist Church in Niagara Falls. And I thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for the honor that you are bestowing upon Sister Yvonne. Thank you. And my wife will echo my
I thank you for those words. Okay, I have 3 students, I believe students are going to speak on the end of the meeting. I have one, all I can make out is Elsie. Elise, or Elsie, Elise.
I'm not speaking.
You're not speaking? No. Okay, well, if you change your mind, we'll let you speak. Okay, we have Gloria Dolson, I'm assuming speaking on renaming of the school. Gloria didn't put a reason down. Is she here? Yeah. Of course. There she is.
I'm not Gloria.
Are you going to speak, Ron? Then we need another half an hour.
No. I just want to say I'm honored and elated for that decision to name a school after my name was Yvonne. She was one of my mentors. She's also a mentor to me. Chuck Boyd, is he here tonight? Chuck Boyd, Knuckles Bradley. She took us really taught us how to use order. She taught us how to use emotion. She taught us when to speak and when to sit down. I'm not ready to sit down yet. But I do want you to know I'm thankful that you guys did this. She was really a great, awesome lady. I
with a husband who's very great as a chemist. And I just want you to know that we, the African American community and the total community, are grateful for this night. This very historic night, Mr. Superintendent. This is historic. And I'm so glad that young black people, brown people, all people will understand that everybody is included. Everybody's included. And I'm thankful that you guys did this. This is really something great. And I just want you to know I'm elated that you did this because she taught us very well. And we succeeded because of the input and mentorship that she provided for us and her husband. Thank you very much.
Brian, your name and address for the record.
My name and address is Brown Lee Cunningham. I'm an esteemed graduate of the Niagara Falls City School District who taught me well. He taught me how to make Niagara Falls, King of Power, Queen of Beauty, the honeymoon capital of the world. I learned to try to do that because of what I learned in your schools. And people talk about it, but I love it. All my brothers went through this school, and we all got degrees. I'm thankful for that.
But where do you live,
Holland together. 1615 Street, Niagara Falls, New York. 14305. And that zip code's got to be uplifted at some point. Thank you.
Failed to listen, and that Robert's Rules of Order of the lesson. Gloria, it's all yours. Thank you.
I'm not here right now to speak on the renaming of the school, 9th Street. Mrs. Yvonne, I played a big important part in it, so it speaks for itself. So I'm going to, if no one else is, because I don't want to interfere with someone that would like to talk about Ms. Bonds. I myself knew Mrs. Bonds very well. All of us, I'm quite sure, Niagara Falls did. But I'm going to talk about men standing strong together. And my address is 1502 Ontario Avenue in Niagara Falls, New York, and the zip code is also 14305. So good evening, my name is Gloria J. Dawson Robinson, founder and organizer of Men Standing Strong Together. I am honored to have the opportunity to speak to the board tonight. You have, for the most part, been very attentive to the aspirations of the group, and we appreciate it. Members of the board, along with the leadership and direction of Mr. Laurie, Superintendent of Schools, has permitted Men Standing Strong Together, along with women of the group, to be a key part of order at Niagara Falls High School. This group has devoted a mentorship with students during the lunch periods. They engage in respectful conversations and correction of disrespectful behavior. We want to stress how important dress wear, clean language, and positive conduct are good manners. Dress wear is a huge distraction when a student is dressed provocatively. It has a negative impact on learning. Another serious problem is disrespecting teachers, staff, and adults. No adults should endure foul language and disrespect from any student. Hoodies are another serious matter. Leaving school during lunch, this could lead to a lawsuit. Anything can happen to any student at any time. And every student is the responsibility of the board and the members. So we need to give this some deep thought. Our school should be a school of learning, full knowledge, and full challenges for all our students. I spoke to Mr. Laurie sometime, and I think he's finally understanding what I'm saying about the walls. We have in that cafeteria empty walls, and I believe the walls should be speaking to all students, not only in Niagara Falls High School, but when a child enters school as a baby, walls should display something that looks like them. And walls should have quotes on it, especially in high school, because I really feel as though those walls can be a learning and teaching instrument. Not only how to dress, not only how to speak, but quotes from famous people, even those individuals who have led the fight for dignity, respect for all mankind, and also for those young people who are maybe be our next superintendent, maybe to be the next mayor, maybe the president of the United States. But we should encourage our children to want a better lifestyle. And it's not very difficult to do. But I asked the board at one time that we could meet together, because just meeting once a month or out here, we can't seem to be able to talk and to brainstorm together. So I'm asking the superintendent, the president of the Board of Education, a few others, if you would take some time out, make an appointment, or I can make an appointment to see you. But I'd like to sit down and talk with you about what we have witnessed in the schools since we've been there. And I believe that men standing strong and the women have been a positive role model, because I think that being there, a lot of fights that had broke out and different things that's going on in school, it's quieted down. And it's because of the mentorship and the concern and the dedication that men standing strong together, along with a few other women, have devoted to Niagara Falls school system and helping the superintendent as well. God bless you.
Thank you, and thank you for your concern and thank you for your help.
Mr. Petrozzi, may I say something?
You only 3 minutes.
No, 30 seconds. And just for the audience, there is a time in the agenda. We don't have repartee back and forth, but I will address those comments at the appropriate time this evening. It's just a matter of the rules of order that I don't respond, or the board doesn't respond, but I do plan to address those comments and others at the appropriate time this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lord. I believe it's Benny Wilson, 818 Vanderbilt Avenue. I might have pronounced it wrong, no? Okay. Shirley Hicks. You're the time, thank you. Alicia Lamar. Not speaking. Okay, anyone that I missed? I didn't miss anybody, think I mispronounced anybody's name. Anyone else on the school meeting? Okay. Saying that, thank you for all your comments. And I'm going to move on to this, the next part of this meeting. We've been working on this for the past 3 weeks, past month actually. We're going to go through this relatively quickly, so just keep in mind there's been many hours behind it, and then we'll vote on, I believe, a bond is coming up about 2/3 through and towards the end of the meeting, and this will not take more than, I think, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay, let's start. Recommended action for the superintendent of schools. I have 401 and 402 minutes and approval of budget transfer number 4. I have a motion. Mr. Cadella, second by Mr. Wilson. Any questions? Call roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
We have approval of bids of Beneva COVID testing. We're going to vote at 6:05. I have 404, treasurer's report. Then October 21, received and filed along with the budget status report. 406, personnel report certificate. I need a motion. Mr. Consemi, Mr. Wilson on the second. Questions? Call roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Consemi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Paretto?
Yes.
Mr. Gallardo? Mr. Petrozzi?
Yes.
All in favor?
Thank you. Number 407, personnel report classified. Thank you, Mr. Pareto. Mr. Consemi on the second. Any questions? Call roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosi?
Yes,
All in
thank you
favor?
very much. Personnel report, addendum. Moved by Mr. Cadella, second by Mr. Velarde. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Consemi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cadella?
Very much yes.
Mr. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
All in favor, motion carried.
Thank you. 4.08 and 4.09 are the committees on special ed and preschool special ed. Mr. Consemi?
Second.
Second, who was the second, Mr. Bass? Okay, any questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, reports accepted.
Okay, we have several short-term contracts. First one's National Federation for Just Communities for Diversity Training, Second International Institute of Buffalo. Number 3, Cape Valley Entertainment. Number 4, International Institute of the Buffalo Cultural Contemporary Training. Number 5, International Institute of Buffalo Cultural Contemporary Training. Number 6, Melinda Lemke, PhD. Number 7, Tom Lowe, Urban Seeds Curriculum Training. Motion, please. Mr. Cadella, second by Mr. Velardo. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Consemi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
All in favor?
Thank you. No unfinished business. 6, new business. We will take 601 to 603. These are accepting the funds together. Accepting the funds for IDEA, acceptance of funds for 21st Century Community Learning, and also 603 is accepting the funds for the teacher centers. Mr. Consemi on the motion, Mr. Cadella on the second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Consemi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank
All in favor,
you.
motion's carried.
Appreciate that. 6.04, renaming of Niagara Street School, the Bleneva Blonde Primary School. Pardon me?
What,
I would need a motion, a second, an amendment. And vote, we would vote on the amendment, and then we would vote on the resolution. So I need a motion to get it in. The motion was Mr. Bass. I need a second, Mr. Consemi. Any questions? There's a question on the word the.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to remove the from the name of the school.
You'd like to remove the word the. Do we have a motion?
Here.
Mrs. Dunn, a second, Mr. Perrella. That's an amendment to the motion. Okay, got that? Everyone understand? We're going to give an amendment to the motion. Now, we talked earlier about giving some latitude to Niagara Street School. Someone like to make an amendment to give Niagara Street School some latitude on the name. I have a motion by Mr. Bass, a second by Mr. Corrado. Any questions on that amendment? Okay, I'm going to take amendment on latitude to the school first. Latitude to Niagara Street School, Rocco. We know you have latitude to work the name so it sounds right, and you won't have to come back to us. Okay, so we're going to take that amendment first. Any questions on the amendment? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for the amendment on latitude. Second, we're going to take the amendment to remove the word the. We have the motion, we're going to vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now going back to the original motion of renaming the Niagara Street School, Bleneva Blonde Elementary School. We have a motion and second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Consemi?
Microphone, please.
I would also like to thank the committee who worked so diligently together in this project. It is a monumental project and was proud to be a part of it. Mr. Petrosi, thank you for your leadership.
It's my pleasure.
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cadell?
Yes.
Mr. Corretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
And Mr. Petrosi?
Okay, before I vote, will the committee please stand? I think this is really important. Will the committee that's here, please stand. All of you. Please. Please. Okay, I'm going to start with Reverend Chambers. Pastor Chambers, thank you for your help. And Christopher Merchant, thank you for your help. Mr. King, thank you for your help. Joe Sparbini, thank you for your help. Who did I miss? Rodney Shear, I don't know if you see Rodney here. Thank you for your help. Mr. Skinsemi, thank you for your help. Ms. Dunn, thank you for your help. Emma Askler, thank you for your help. Eden Robbins, thank you for your help. Thank you all. My vote is yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Now, audience, we intend to have an intense celebration with this. This has been it's been long in coming. It was a lot of work from the committee, a lot of work from the community. This will all be set up, I would assume, next summer, next fall.
Well,
Mayor. Of course.
so the work just started today with the selection. And now the real important work continues. And all of you that participated in stand stood. We need to have one of the biggest celebrations the city has ever seen to do this right. To do this right. And the principal of the school is Mr. Rocco Marino. He's here, along with his assistant principal, Dorothy Brundage, who's not here. I am going to empower them to lead the committee. They are responsible for the 500 students in the school, who I know this board wants to be uniquely involved, and I know Mr. Marino knows how to do that. He's organized, he'll have his staff behind him, and he'll have the resources and commitment of the central office staff and myself to conduct this. I'd ask that as a first order of business, we get committees together, we select a date. I will submit this name on behalf of the Board of Education in this resolution to the New York State Education Department on March 1st, 2022, so it makes it in time for the March 31st deadline on any name changes. From there, I think one of the biggest orders of the day will be selecting a date of the celebration, and this evening should pale in comparison to the number of people, the number of students, the number of community members who come to unveil the naming of the new school, which hasn't been done, by the way, in over 40 years. So this was a historic night. It was 40 years ago when a name alone came, giving the highest honor of anyone to be accompanied to a school. So this needs to be the celebration of the year in this city for the students. As a teaching tool, to remember the words of Mrs. Mitchell and Reverend Kelly and Mr. Hamilton and everyone else, and Mr. King, all the words that come alive for the kids. That's why this was done, so that the words come alive for kids. And as it was said by Mr. Stolzen, they too become the next mayor or president, not superintendent for 4.5 years, but they become the next group of people that lead this city. So I am, we've got the right guy to lead the committee, Mr. Marino. He's a seasoned administrator, and he does it well. So I pledge my support and resources board. I'll come back to you with any resources I've begun to do a financial study with the assistance of Mr. Smeal in terms of signage. This is going to be done professionally, right, and there's going to be no stone left unturned. So I promise you that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If I may, I'm going to ask the audience for assistance. We're looking for relatives. So if anyone knows of any relatives that will leave us, please contact Judy or Mark or myself. We are looking for relatives. Is Pastor Kelly still here? Reverend Kelly? Would you mind coming up? I have a resolution that the Board of Education would like to present you to hang in your church. As it states of what we have just done tonight. So she was a member of your church and very active. Well, actually, I'm going to present it to you, but we want it back because we're going to present it at the dedication of the school. So would you like me to hang on to it? This is the resolution. We have it framed for you. You can hang it in your church. He was very active. Sorry, gentlemen, I'm going to remind you, but it's pretty quick. All right, moving on. We are at 6.05, 6.06. These are Vena Health Care and Behavioral Analysis. These are 2 contracts. Mr. Katsani? Thank you, Mr. Valero. Any questions? Call roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsey? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Corretto?
Yes.
Mr. Gallardo? And Mr. Petros?
Thank you very much, yes. 6.07, acceptance of funds for Head Start. Mr. Bass. Mrs. Dunn, any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsey? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Corretto?
Yes.
Mr. Gallardo? And Mr. Petros?
Yes. 6.08 removed for now. 6.09 to 6.28. These are payments to our contractors for our capital projects that is just ending. We will take these all together. We have number 18 is Safari. Number 19, yes, sir.
I think we removed 608.
I did say remove.
Yep.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I said it was removed.
I'm recommending we remove it for a month.
Yeah,
We're not going to take over Head Start now, just in case you're wondering what's going on. We're delaying our ownership of Head Start until January 1st. It was originally scheduled for Monday, but there are still some maintenance issues that need to be accommodated by the current owners before we're ready to accept the buildings. And we worked out with the Health and Human Services Division of the federal government today a 1-month delay before we assume ownership of that program.
I appreciate that explanation, Mr. Laurie. Going to 609 to 628, payment number 18. Payment to the Scafari 19 is also the Scafari. 611 is Danforth, 612 is Danforth, and along with 613 and 14 is Danforth. 615 and 16 are CIR Electric. 617 is Johnson Controls, along with 618. 619 Elmer Davis, along with 620. 621 is Mark Cerrone. 622 Camco General Contractor. 623 MLP Plumbing. 624 Mollenberg, along with 625 is Mollenberg. 626 Ferguson, along with 627 and 628. I think it was Mr. Corretto, and I think the second came from Mr. Consemi. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Press?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Consemi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Corretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Stroh?
Yes, thank you. 629 to 632, our change orders. This is smaller. 629 is Albert Davis, 630 Camco, 631 Mollenberg, 632 Ferguson Electric, and one for 629 was actually a refund.
Correct.
Correct.
That's
For about
correct.
$30,000.
$30,000 refund on 629.
Appreciate it. Motion, please. Mr. Prado, second by Ms. Dunn. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Press?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Consemi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Corretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Stroh?
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay, review of policies. There are none this evening. Back to oral communications. I have, I believe, 3. And I only had it for a minute, so I figured I'd lose it. Okay. Monica, I'm sorry, Majai, maybe 1921 Penn Street. I'm sorry, I can't read it. Please straighten me out.
My name is Manuel Mejia. I am with the Niagara Falls Youth City Council. I'm 17, 1921 10th Street.
Thank you.
Good evening. As a response to the rampant acts of violence, drug use, and skipping, Niagara Falls High School has implemented a few precautionary measures, mainly fact checks with the new locked bathroom door policy, used in tandem with digital passes, which have been used to our so-called bathroom. Daily student privacy is invaded as both punishment for the collective and protection of said collective. In addition to this, bathrooms are locked at all times of the day, but can be unlocked given a student has a pass. Students are prohibited from using the bathroom during passing time in the first 5 minutes of class and the remaining 5 minutes of class. This not only makes bathroom use a distraction from learning, but is against New York State Department of Education policy written in March of 2019, which states, "We do not endorse the closure of bathrooms, nor do we endorse any other types of restrictions. Actions such as restricting access to restroom facilities 2 times classes are not in session may have a negative impact on the learning environment." For more on that, my colleague, Penny.
Again, the very act of restricting all bathroom use is against the department.
May I have your name and address, please?
Sorry. Penny Lane, 137 70th Street.
Thank you, Penny.
The very act of restricting all bathroom use is against the Department of Education's policy stating, "School buildings are required to provide sanitary facilities and make them available at all times of occupancy." But there's more to this situation. Due to the sheer lack of staffing, many bathrooms are left unattended during the acceptable time for bathroom use. This makes these bathrooms not only restricted at all times of the day, but completely unavailable much of the time, forcing students to take more time out of their learning period. This has been a complaint of many students and is an unjust reality. Unfortunately, closing bathrooms is not a new practice for Niagara Falls High School. Breaking written policy to punish the many for the actions of the few is unjust and is a band-aid on a greater problem. Not only that, but this restriction has amplified an effect on those who rely on these facilities, such as those with financial hardships who may not have running water and are unable to use these facilities in the morning. In addition to this, these effects are amplified on women who may need these facilities immediately due to the period. Now on to Alejandro for her final remarks.
I'm Alejandro, Heredity Rodriguez, 1552 Center Avenue. For the aforementioned reason of distracting from a student's right to learn, schools are prohibited from preventing bathrooms from being available for immediate use. Bathroom restriction is unsafe, unjust, and a hindrance to our education. Not only this, but monitoring is done inconsistently, leaving many bathrooms many bathrooms to be closed. Our bathrooms are not available for immediate use and are not available at all times of the day. This issue should not persist any longer, as it is the duty of teachers and staff to ensure our education and our safety. The insurance we've been promised is now absent in the current matter. This violation will not be taken lightly, and we the students will have our voices heard. We appreciate your time and hope for your consideration, as students and teachers have both agreed on one thing: this must end.
Thank you. Information from our colleagues and the superintendent. Would you like to go, Mark?
Sure, whatever you want to.
Go ahead.
Hey, Peter. So, what a great evening. I want to just recognize two people. One that you met earlier. You can blame her for everything that you don't like. Her name's Carrie Mitchell. She came to the microphone and spoke. On September 24th, 1984, Carrie Mitchell hired me at the Niagara Falls Board of Education. And it's probably, you were the one that hired me, Carrie. So, I haven't forgotten that. I hope you don't regret your decision. I'm thankful to you every day for the great life you gave me working in this district. So thank you, Mrs. Mitchell. And it's an honor to see you as well as everybody. But that's the woman. If you have a complaint, go talk to her. That's number one. Number two, the most esteemed school district clerk is in our presence this evening. No offense, Judy. The esteemed, the star of stars, Ms. Ruth L. Dumas. She cannot hide. She cannot escape. Her birthday's passed? Oh, is it happy birthday too? We heard it. And so we have a couple of things that we need you to finish up from the time you were here. But I wanted to say hello to you. I see you sneaking back there with the handsome gentleman next to you. Yeah, that's the one we have to watch. Next, Ms. Dolson spoke very, very well about Men Standing Strong, and thank you, Men Standing Strong, for starting the issue. I want to just make 2 points about Men Standing Strong. What I handed her was sign-in sheets. So let's talk about that phrase, it takes a community, it takes a village to raise a community, a school. The Men Standing Strong, to this point, and they didn't start on the first day of school, to this day have given 448 volunteer hours in the school. 448 hours. That is significant. They didn't receive pay, they didn't receive benefits, they received our thanks today. And that's just the hours that I could count on the timesheets that they turn in. So 400, so what is that? That's a community action group who put their energy where their suggestions are. 448 hours in those cafeterias, and you made a difference. You made a difference. We're not there yet. You made a difference, so thank you. I want to thank you. The second part of that is, we did have a meeting, and the naming of Ms. Bond is just a wonderful celebration. I don't want to take away from that in any way, shape, or form. But your point is well taken. We need to adorn the walls, the cafeteria, the library, not only of Niagara Falls High School, but of all the schools, with not just black individuals who are successful. We have Pakistani individuals, we have brown individuals, we have Native American individuals, and we need to do a better job reflecting all of those local and national heroes, so that a student can walk up and say and learn, this person did this person did this Native American did this Hispanic individual did this. So I pledged to you, and I spoke to the high school administrative team, we'll start it there. Now, interestingly, through, I hate to give him any credit, through work that we did with Mr. Hamilton, Calfus has a really good model of this. where there are some pictures in a walkway. And the thought to your point was that these are very nice pictures with very nice words where kids can read and learn. But they rotate, so we put new ones up all the time. So we get more than just a school name. We get a lot of people, a lot of kids involved, and who's known. Your suggestion was a good one. I take it seriously. I spoke to the high school administrative team, and they're going to be working on it immediately at the high school, in the cafeterias, and around the library. So I want you to know that. Next, I would like to tell you that we have had an uptick in COVID cases, not just here in Niagara Falls, but everywhere in Western New York. And I know it's been a bit of a controversial topic sometimes, but we've all got to redouble our efforts with masks and precautions. The last thing, and I'm not saying this to be hard-headed or negligent in my responsibility for safety, but the last thing and the worst thing that we can do to our kids is put them out or have them out for remote learning. We did our best, but it's not the best. The best thing is to have kids in school, okay? So we all have to redouble our efforts now on these precautions. And I will continue to monitor and watch, but it is, and again, I'm not going to be foolhardy, but we need to keep kids in school. You can see that it took 8 weeks to get things in a normal flow at the high school and in other schools. And we can't have any regression because we're on the up. So, but nonetheless, and I know there was a group that was here last meeting, nonetheless, the choice is of parents. I suggest you do it. It's not mandatory to be vaccinated, to be masked inside buildings. We have to redouble our efforts in that area. Next, I want to tell everybody that tomorrow at the Culinary Institute at NCCC, 34 of our 43 PTEC students. PTEC started in 8th grade. I know the board knows this. Tomorrow at the Culinary Institute, we're treating 34 of the 43 PTEC students to lunch and a speaker. These are the students who are in industrial and technological manufacturing with Stavati, and they're going to have lunch at the Culinary Center. They're going to hear a speaker. These are the students, these 43 students are the ones in 9th grade who will have the opportunity to receive a high school diploma and a college associate's degree on the same ceremony. So we're going strong. Next, I want to tell you, I just want to name some places because that flow of struggles we had early at the high school. Just put this in mind. I'm going to just name some names here. And I think you know these because you're from Niagara Falls. Durez, Confer Plastics, Tam Ceramics, Sheridan, New York State Parks, Lakeside Quarter Horses, Olin, Greenpack, Thermo Fisher, Border Works, Supply Chain Management, the building trades, electricians, laborers, operators and engineers, bricklayers, the Damon Digital Art Program, and starting January 31st through June 9th, that community college's law enforcement, along with Pyrotech and the Niagara Falls Police Department. What are those names? That is a small smattering of where our students in 12th grade are going for their internships and externships when they leave school. And that is only the beginning. That's all our mission to get kids going to trades and that we've talked about. You know what I'm saying. But those are the companies that they're going. Finally, on this great and celebratory evening, again, the stars of the speakers are the students. And here's what I want you to know. Among everything that we do, your safety and protection, more important than the Regents algebra exam, science, whatever, your safety, protection is the first calling of our district and the board. So everything we do is always to try to protect you and keep you safe. I have heard your concern, your ability to come before this board with a very big audience is to be commended. Your professionalism in speaking, confidently, articulately, projecting yourself is to be commended. I've heard your concerns. I will take those to the high school. I want you to know that we listen. We will continue to do what's right, safety, but what is legal and appropriate. And I will take your information to the high school administrative team tomorrow, if not Monday, and start to see if we can't bridge the gap between what you're saying and what we're doing. Now, what I'm going to ask the board to do, and I'm not putting them on the spot, because I came to them 2 months ago and asked them for something, and they nodded their heads immediately when I asked them for most every one of them. One of the things that I'm going to ask, and this is a big job because we have to find the right people, is I'm going to ask now as the last piece of this, to your question and point, that we hire 4 additional safety officers that will help with that situation, okay? That we hire 4 additional safety officers. So I want you to know I listen, we listen, they listen. I'll speak to them, I'm not going to put them on the spot. We'll talk about that, but I think that will help to minimize that issue that you presented. So my comment is, we heard you. Finally, well, 2 things. Finally, we tonight hired a Director of Safety and Security. The board unanimously approved it. It was the recommendation of Mr. Cadell and other members of this board to hire that person. We need him. The gentleman that was hired came through an interview process conducted by Ms. Mazzaro, Mr. Smeal, and some of the principals. And you may know him. His name is E. Brian Del Porto. He was the former chief of police in the city, and he is now coming on board as a member of our team. He will work with us. What will he do? He will help us with security issues. He will help us with training, not only of safety officers, teachers, staff. He will help us purchase new equipment so that that delay you have in the morning or you were speaking of can be updated to what we should be used in 2021, etc., etc., etc. His job description is unending, and we'll put him to good work. Now, his qualifications are impeccable. He's former police chief of the city of Niagara Falls. He just is leaving a job with the United States Attorney to come to work for us because he wants to be back there. And in between, he's had work in the military, and he knows our schools inside and out. His children, so he has a child in our school now, and he wants to come back and work in Niagara Falls. And I think that, as I said previously, this board got a first-round draft pick, and I couldn't be more pleased. But to the students, what he does is he adds to the solution to your problem. So we heard you, students, and I want you to know we heard you, and there are things in the works, and there will be things that will address what you said. Members of the board, I give you my congratulations on the naming. I am proud to work for a school board that carries themselves with the dignity and decorum that you do, the confidence in me to do what I do, and the ability to lead and remember that your role are policymakers and financial stewards. So thank you for your approval of all of the resolutions and personnel this evening, and for your support. I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a heck of a lot more than 3 minutes, but
I learned from the best.
Normally I go last, but I'm going to go first today. First of all, congratulations to Yvonne and her family. It was a great evening, but I must thank Mr. Consemi, Mrs. Dunn, for your help. Thank you very much to serve on the committee. And I also want to thank my whole board, Mr. Villardo, Nick Villardo, Rob Wilson, Jim Consemi, Earl Fast, Paul Padella, Clara Dunn, Tony Corrado. It's a pleasure working for you. And this is your board, and this is your administration. You have Rick Corella, Earl Smeal, Rich, go ahead, Rich, what's that last name? Schwarzenegger, okay, Schwarzenegger. Becky Holiday, Maria Massaro, we have Julie Moore over here. Last but not least, Judy Glasser, not forgetting Ray Granary, and our 2 lawyers, Angel Massaro, Jim Massaro. It's a pleasure every week. And Mr. Laurie, this has been a real pleasure to do this job. Okay, saying that, I'll move on to my colleagues. Did I miss anybody? Nick Ruffalo, you too, Nick, thank you for getting us online, we appreciate that, thank you. Okay, let's move along. Mr. Earl Bash, you're up.
Having sat here for the last 5 years, there are two highlights of my tenure as a board member. First being when we updated our health curriculum, and that was led by our students. That was a big collaborative effort, and I was very proud that we decided to speak in today's terms. And then tonight, to be able to vote for an individual whose name I've seen, because 9th Street is named after her, and to learn more about her during this process, and just for Ms. Thompson and Go and then standing strong to get the ball rolling on that. It's a very historic moment. I'm very proud to be able to cast a yes vote for that. And I thank the committee as a whole and the community for their support during this time, and also to our staff just for the year of the roller coaster ride that it's been. Even as a board member, so I can only imagine what it's been for you guys being in the trenches. Thank you and have a next year.
Thanks, Earl. Paul?
I'd like to start off by thanking the speakers and everybody for coming tonight. It's really nice to see as many faces as possible filling up the seats here. I don't want to start with the obvious, but I want to start by thanking my board, our board, for hiring a director of security. It's been long overdue, and it's not for a lack of wanting it or a lack of foresight. It was just an opportunity, and all of us together collectively finding that it was a need and that we needed to address that need. Brian Del Porto is a perfect candidate. His name comes with great esteem. I worked for him for a number of years. I know what he's capable of. I know the person he is, personally and professionally. He's going to bring legitimacy to our safety and security plan for the school district. Make no mistake about that. He'll have my full support and full support of my colleagues here. On to the school renaming, I have to admit, with some self-reflection, that I was nervous about this process. I was scared. I was nervous for, to be honest, our reputation as a board. I thought this process was going to get screwed up. I did not have faith. And I'm saying that in a self-deprecating manner. That I was nervous. I was weary of the timing of it. With that being said, I was wrong. And I couldn't be any happier that we're doing this as a group and the way that it was conducted. The processes that were followed, the people that we chose to sit on the committee, it worked. And I'm really glad it worked, and I can't wait till we can put that name on the school and celebrate together. It's historic, and I'm so thankful and proud of all my colleagues and everybody that helped and everybody that's here tonight. Thank you.
I just want to say too that I'm very happy that we voted to name one of our schools after Laniva Bond. I want to thank the committee members because, when we started this process, when Men Standing Strong came, I want to thank them for doing this. And when we started this process, none of us knew what was going to happen. But, I'm glad to say, happy to say, thankful to say, and thank all the committee members that this did go smooth. There was a couple of rough edges, but we worked them out. Our chairperson, Mr. Petrozzi, handled everything in a very professional manner, and we were able to get this done. So I want to thank Men Standing Strong, the committee, the board members. One thing I want to say, because we have to always give recognition to our students so they can be better, and also piggyback on what Ms. Dosen said, that being in Men Standing Strong, being in Niagara Falls High School makes a difference. I cannot let this pass by without saying that I spent a couple of weeks in Gaskell. And Saturday, I was in Walmart. I haven't been maybe in the past couple of weeks. And Saturday, I was in Walmart. And one of the young men that I talked with every day to teach him to be a young man, to respect the ladies, to respect himself. He saw me in Walmart. I didn't see him. I heard somebody calling my name, Miss C, Miss C. And I turned around and I recognized him. He said, I haven't seen you lately. I miss you. Will you come back? So what Gloria said is true. Sometimes these kids just need to see our faces and to let them know that we care, we love them, and we want them to have a very good education. So I think once our children learn what Mrs. Fon stood for, and that was for our children to respect themselves, to stand up and be somebody, I think maybe our students will start to get the message that we want you to have a better education, a better life, a successful future. So I thank everybody for this honor. I am very happy to say thank you.
Thank you, Carol. How about you, Nick?
It's a tough act to follow, but I just want to thank the committee and for all their hard work and following the process, which proved to work out very well. And I know it took a lot of hours and a lot of thoughts, a lot of anxiety, but we got it done, and I'm proud to be on this board, to have voted for it tonight to this monumental occasion. So thank you, everyone, and everyone have a good Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Nick. Rob? Mr. Wilson?
Faith and trust. Faith and trust. It's always interesting in life how things go. We want things to happen. They might not come as quickly as we hope. It's been a really wonderful opportunity for me to be a member on this great Board of Education. And one of the first things that I experienced when I started on this board was the process of renaming schools. And when I say faith and trust, we entered into this during a very tumultuous time in the country with COVID and all the things that we were going through. And the level of respect, the level of faith and trust that you put in us, every time that you came to speak with us, every time that you came, everyone involved, every time that you came to ask for updates, it could have been very easy to be frustrated, and it could have been very easy not to have faith and trust and respect, but every step of the way, everyone involved did, and I know I'm personally appreciative of that. I know the board is. I will speak for them. I would think that they are. And I'm just happy and blessed to be a member of this board, and I'm happy to be blessed to be a part of this community with all of you. And thank you to the staff, to everyone involved, the committee, Mr. Petrosi, and I'm thankful as we turn the corner to Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for all of you, and I'm thankful to be here this evening. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanks, Rob. Jim Kinsani.
Well, I'd be reluctant if I didn't say this is probably one of my most memorable evenings serving all my time here on the board. What we did tonight was about 15 years too late, but it's done. It's a start. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our superintendent for backing the committee and leading it up to us, the committee, to do our job and bring back to this community a leader that's truly, truly deserving of having a school named after her. Mr. Petrosi, thank you for your leadership. Ms. Dawn, thank you. Yeah, we had some rough nights, and we had some tough decisions to have to make, and it was open. But to the committee, Don, Joe, Reverend Graves, you guys stood with us, we talked it out, It made you go back and research again. And I know you weren't happy with that, but I wanted to make sure that we owed this committee and this school district the best decision possible, and I think we made it. And I thank you for allowing me the honor to be a part of that. And to my board members, I wish you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving, good health, and amen.
Thank you for your help, Jim. Vice President Farrell.
Okay, I have a loud enough voice. I should. You guys hear me okay? Again, I'm very glad that we're bringing head of security on. I personally know Chief Del Porto, or ex-Chief Del Porto, and we picked the right guy for the job. And I'm glad we're moving forward. And I feel better for our students and our administrators and teachers in our schools. Very proud, I'm always very proud to serve on this board. And it's been almost 2 terms for me. And today's one of the most proudest moments I've had in naming that school after Mrs. Bond. I never met Mrs. Bond, but I did some research too. And as we dug deeper and I read more, we heard more from some of our esteemed colleagues, I was even more impressed. We did a monumental thing today, board members, and I'm damn proud to be a part of it, and proud to serve with you, and proud to serve you folks in the community. You put your trust in us, and we hope we haven't let you down. We hope we made you proud too. Again, we put our faith into our superintendent, our glory, our staff. We've done. Do we have more work to do? Yeah. We'll take one step at a time. And thank you for all the speakers today, especially the young people, so we know what's going on. We need you to speak more, young people. We've probably gone, but we still have a few young people left. But it's very important that you young people eloquently and decisively come here and you tell us what's wrong. That's how we're going to know how to fix it. So, and the Dumas is back there in the last row. I see you. Good to see you again. Got to come see us more. But again, everybody, happy Thanksgiving and God bless.
Ray's getting nervous over there. We got to put you for a commercial. Thanks for the streaming tonight, Ray. Appreciate it. Judy, who did all the work and mailed all of those letters and mailed all of that information and made all those phone calls and didn't miss one. Judy, thank you. Would you like to say anything? Thank you. Would you like to say anything? Well, Judy, you did not play a small role, please. Okay, anybody else like to add anything for Thanksgiving? Over here, anybody? Okay, Mark, you said
we need to take the pause off the executive session for one item. No action will be taken. It is the appointment, promotion of a person, and there was no action to be taken after. That's the only reason. So I know you need to call it.
Okay, so we're voting on reconvening the executive session. Mr. Lori, thank you for this evening and all you do. We'll take a vote on it. I need a motion and a second. Motion, Mr. Cadella. There was a second by Mr. Bilson. Okay, Mr. Valero. Yes. Mr. Bilson. Mr. Kinsemi. Yes. Mr. Bass. Yes. Mr. Cadella. Yes. Mrs. Dunn. Yes. Mr. Barretto. Yes. And myself as a yay. 8 yeas, no nays. We will adjourn in memory. Thank you, Ms. Glasser. You make me look good. I appreciate it. We are adjourning in the memory of the following who unfortunately are no longer with us. Dewey Baby Boy Bedgood, brother of grade 3 teacher Gloria Bedgood. James Holder, retired educator, husband of the late Carolyn Holder, and Ann Roos, retired secretary. people that are no longer with us, we will be adjourning in their memory. Folks, good night, thank you, and happy Thanksgiving. Please come and see us again.